We are here with 8 schools who will battle it out to be the premier debate champion of Kenya in this edition of the Debate Circle's High School Debate Series. With me, I have
Leakey Girls High School.
Leakey Girls High School. Welcome. Those are welcome sopranos. My goodness. How are we feeling today?
They're feeling exquisite.
They're feeling exquisite. And what message do we have for our competitors this fine morning?
I just want to tell you that the trophy is ours.
What school is this?
Mpesa Foundation Academy.
What words do we have for our opposition on this fine Saturday morning?
We are meeting the best, so prepare for the worst.
They are meeting the best, so they should be prepared for the worst. My words.
Ladies and gentlemen, every debate brings us closer and closer to a champion here at the Debate Circle, the home of high school debates. My name is Stephanie Washira, and the motion for dissection today is whether climate change is the single most dangerous threat to the marine environment in Kenya. On the proposition side, we have Mpesa Foundation Academy, and on the opposition side, we have Leakey Girls. We wish both teams the absolute best. First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make your submissions.
So climate change is the single most dangerous threat to the marine environment in Kenya. My name is Anne-Mariette and I will be the first proposer. My second proposer is Winnie Johannes and my third proposer is Victory Award. Let us start with the definitions. What is climate change? Climate change, these are the shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. What is the meaning of most? Greatest in amount, quantity, or degree. Dangerous, able or likely to cause harm or injury. Threat, this is a thing likely to cause damage or danger. What is a marine environment? Aquatic environments with high levels of dissolved salts. They include the open ocean, deep sea ocean, and the coastal ecosystems. What is the meaning of single? Not one of several. Ladies and gentlemen, we support this motion because climate change is the single most dangerous. We do not disagree with the fact that there might be other factors, but climate change still remains to be the single most dangerous. Mark those 2 words, most dangerous. On to my first points. What are the effects of climate change on the marine environment? Lack of biodiversity. Look at it in this way, ladies and gentlemen. Climate change causes an increase in temperature, and this makes fish migrate to cooler temperatures. And hence, this causes an imbalance in the ecosystem because the ecosystem was built in such a way that every organism in the ecosystem helps it to balance and to work the way it is supposed to work because of the interdependence needed to maintain the ecosystem. And the migration of fish is causing what we are experiencing right now, scarcity of fish. It is causing loss of biodiversity because fishes are migrating to other parts of the ocean, meaning that they're actually moving from Kenya to other parts. And our fishermen are busy here complaining that we don't have fish. Why? Climate change. More than half of the marine species may stand on the brink of extinction by 2100. At a 1.1 degrees Celsius increase in temperature today, an estimated 60% of the world's marine ecosystems have been degraded or are being used unsustainably. Ladies and gentlemen, what more do you need to see? Climate change is the single most dangerous factor affecting our marine ecosystems. I continue. A warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius threatens to destroy our coral reefs up to a rate of about 70 to 90%, and a 2 degrees Celsius increases the destruction by 100%. And this means that we are almost reaching a point of no return. Why? Because by 2050, Kenya is predicted to have a temperature of about 2.5 degrees Celsius. This is according to the UN. And climate change is irreversible. Once it hits, there is no going back. So why should you deny that climate change is the single most dangerous factor that affects our marine ecosystem?
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make your submission.
We live in an ever-changing world. Some of these changes are either developing or annihilating us second by second. You might look at climate, but keep in mind there are much more dire prospects that could finish us all before we know it. My name is Nicole Nyakabi from the esteemed Mary Leakey Girls High School, and I'm here to oppose the motion that states climate change is the single most dangerous threat to the marine environment in Kenya. On to my definition of terms. What is climate change? Climate change is the change in the weather patterns over a long period of time, usually 30 to 35 years. What is the marine environment? The marine environment is a natural surrounding of a living organism and it is connected with the sea creatures and plants contained in it. But it isn't only limited to what's in it, but what's also around it. The social, culture, economic, and the people around it. On to my first point. Agriculture. Since the mid-1800s, scientists have known that CO2, carbon 4 oxide, is the main one of the main greenhouse gases that are emitted in the atmosphere, methane and nitrogen oxide included. But there's been a massive increase by 40% recorded in 2019 since the 1800s. And one of the main contributors is agriculture. We have all noticed this parasite that's wriggling in between us, drought, and the government is making changes to what could help us develop from it. And with this, there is food production. The government has come up with ways of increasing our food production, and it is the use of fertilizers and insecticides. And in order to use these fertilizers, the coastal lines have large-scale farming sites. And in order to spray these insecticides, it's by means of air. And through this air, we introduce the CFCs, the chlorofluorocarbons that end up depleting our ozone layer. With this, there is nothing left to take up the brunt of the sun's UV rays that end up on our surfaces, mostly the oceans that increase the high surface temperatures. These temperatures cause a fluctuation in the ocean and the redistribution of fish species in our waters. This will cause a decrease in the organic aquatic plants, such as the phytoplanktons and the zooplanktons, because they require a particular temperature in order to grow. If the temperature rises to about 37 and it only requires 20, what will happen? It won't grow. The fish won't have anything to eat, and therefore they will migrate. And this goes as far as to affect the people near its marine features. More than 1 million people on our coastal lines depend on this food as an integral component of their diet. If there's no fish, there's no food. They are forced to look for other means to survive because of the poor fish stocks. Where do you expect them to begin finding their food source?
Second proposer, take the stage.
I particularly like your use of the specific words, much dire prospects that are dangerous to our marine life. You mentioned agriculture and use of fertilizers. Let me inform you of a 1998 coral bleaching that took away 90% of our coral reefs. That's according to coastal marine biology. 90% of things that take 100,000 years to 30 million years to build, and they're gone in less than a century, disappeared as if they never existed. Imagine that your future generations will come and learn that coral reefs were with things that existed in some century, in the 21st century, and they can only see it on the internet and in museums because they no longer exist, wiped out by climate change. You talked of fluorocarbons and CO2, how they destroy our ozone layers and lead to rise in temperature. That is what we call climate change. Whichever way you sugarcoat it, whichever way the causes are, whichever way it's stemming from, the issue itself is climate change. Climate change is the one that's affecting our marine lives. So whichever way you go around it, it comes back to the one thing, the one major single threat to our marine life, and that's climate change, nothing else. I've just told you that we lost 90% of our coral reefs in 1998, of which we have not even recovered 50% of it. If we wanted to regulate how we use our fertilizers, we can do that very easily. We can channel these fertilizers other ways. CAPS can regulate the amount of chemicals and toxins that go into these fertilizers and how they are used in farms, so that even when they go and run off, they don't even hurt our marine life. They're not that dangerous. But climate change, once it hits, it's irreversible. I've told you, not even 50% we've been able to get it back. But if we want to stop fertilizers misuse, we can do that very easily. Let me tell you a little bit about coral reefs. Kenya has one of the most beautiful, most fascinating coral reefs in the world. Visit Watamu Marine Park, you'll find out. And these coral reefs house over 250 species. A loss of these coral reefs means 250 species of our marine life has disappeared. It's gone. Our biodiversity has also gone with it. Ocean Service will tell you, increase in ocean temperature is by far the largest cause of coral bleaching. What is coral bleaching? Corals and algae have this mutualism where they depend on each other to survive. Coral provides food and the vibrant colors that we see on coral reefs, and the corals themselves provide a home for this algae. When the sea temperatures go high because of climate change, the algae lives. The 250 species that live on these corals have no food, they have no habitat, they also live. All of our marine life, all of our marine biodiversity has migrated to other areas because of unfavorable conditions. Why? Because of climate change. Whichever other reasons you might mention, climate change remains the giant. It remains the single most dangerous threat to marine biodiversity. Johannes, when is my name?
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes.
Wow, it's getting fishy in here, but I'm about to fish you out from the deep waters. Mary Njoroge on stage, ready to firmly oppose the motion that says climate change is the most dangerous threat to marine environment. You told us that most means that it has a high impact. For me, I don't think climate is, but I think human is. And I will just be very practical. Number one of the major threats of the marine environment is the plastic waste that are released annually. Annually, according to the data, it shows that we release 2,200 metric tons of waste inside the marine environment. And out of those, a quarter of that is composed of plastics. In this room, everyone here, they have plastic bottles. Marine environment, it is a place where it is near the coast, meaning that those places are humid. What does humid mean? It is hot and warm. So meaning the population of the coast, they need cold water for cooling their bodies. And according to the data, Mombasa, we have 1.294 million people. So you tell me every day you are consuming water, and you are consuming water from a plastic bottle. 1.24 million people. What impact does it have to the marine environment? Can it really be compared to the climate change? It is something that is taking place on a daily basis. Climate is something that takes 3 decades. In 3 decades, how many plastic bottles will have been deposited in the marine environment? So kindly, guys, human is the thing. Another major threat to the marine environment is industrial revolution. Kenya is a developing country, and as you all know, industries, when we think of industries, we think of release of gases such as nitrogen peroxide, sulfur peroxide, and carbon peroxide. Not only does it affect the fish, but the population that is around the marine environment. Remember, marine environment is not only about the fish, it's not only about the mangrove that is in the waters, it is about the population that is around the marine. It is about the people who are living, it is about the coastal population near the water bodies. So, emission of these gases will cause respiratory diseases, which is 42.1% disease burden in Mombasa County. And the situation is becoming worse because right now the government is focusing on controlling COVID-19. So the situation is getting worse. So I think climate change is not the factor, but human is the factor. Another thing is that we have, as we all know, Kenya is a developing country, and so the rate at which we have private cars and private vehicles in the country is very high. So meaning the vehicles, they also emit gases such as CO2 and carbon dioxide, and this contributes in a certain percentage to the marine environment. Thank you.
Can we truly bypass the place of the said emissions in accelerating climate change is a question for the opposers today. And the proposers have been asked to better explain how we can charge lawmakers with the responsibility of ensuring that we are able to deal with harmful emissions. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
My favorite audience, let the fishing continue. Thank you, Kevin, for the question from Jamhuri High. It just bridges our way to making our solutions. How can the government help? The government can help in regulations, ban of unroadworthy vehicles, rules and fines banning the use of unroadworthy vehicles and emissions. It can also the government can also put restrictions on the amount of waste industries actually release to the environment. Have you ever heard of something called reduction of our atom economy? In that, industries are only told to actually make products that capitalize, that maximize on the atom economy, and less waste is reduced. Industrialization. We are not saying that industrialization has not impacted our marine life. We are saying that industrialization is much more impactful because it releases gases, like our opposition has said, gases that actually lead to this climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, these gases that are emitted, such as methane, I want you to think about this. How disastrous are these gases emitted to marine life alone, that is, as an independent factor, than when they actually cause climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the opposition side for actually supporting us. Industries release waste, vehicles release waste, and this waste only impact the marine ecosystem because they lead to climate change. They lead to increase in temperature. I have heard the opposition side talk of rise in sea levels. What is causing them, ladies and gentlemen? It is climate change. So stop taking us round and hit the problem, hit the bull's eye. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition side has told us that marine ecosystem is not only about the fish, and I want to support that. Thank you. We have the seagrass beds. Provision of food and shelter and essential nursery areas to commercial and recreational fishery species. Call them hatching grounds in the layman's language. They are affected by sea level rise. Sea level rise is actually caused by increase in temperatures, which is as a result of climate change, something the opposition side has not told us. Ladies and gentlemen, also look at the mangrove. The mangrove are buffer zones. The more we continue the sea level continues to rise, the more they cannot access oxygen, the more they die. Ladies and gentlemen, these are buffer zones to us. They protect the surrounding settlements against being carried away by strong currents, and they are as a result of climate change. I would also like to talk about the increased concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, caused altogether by climate change. This leads to ocean acidification and migration of fish. So they want to come here and tell us that overfishing has led to decline in fish, but in real sense, our fish are migrating. So in real sense, it is climate change. My name, as always, will be Victory from the Mpesa Foundation Academy.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
So ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm wearing clothes, but allow me to give you the naked truth. My name is Margaret Wanjiro from the Leakey Girls High School, here to strongly oppose the motion that climate change is the single most dangerous threat to the marine environment in Kenya. Now, I've been asked a question that how are all these gases that the gases released by the vehicles are causing climate change now? Your facts are wrong. The gases from the vehicles is actually dissolving in the ocean by themselves directly from the vehicles, causing hypoxia, which is reduction of oxygen in the water levels, hence increase of the migration of the fisheries. Now, Our propositions, thank you. Our propositions have told us that industrial waste and vehicle exhaust is causing climate change. Again, your facts are wrong. These industrial wastes are going direct to the oceans from the industries, causing acidification of the oceans, causing the death of these fish, not climate change. There's nowhere where we have related our arguments of industrial revolution and everything, waste, to climate change. Now, she's given us examples of mangrove, how it is buffer zones to the fisheries. Thank you so much for that point. The mangroves is taking up approximately 61,271 hectares of the Kenyan coast, supporting 3 million lives. Now, how is this being affected by human activities? Deforestation. The mangroves are being affected by the overlogging and the direct harvesting of the mangroves, which is causing a 50% loss of our mangroves, affecting 3 million lives. So, how is this affecting the marine life? We have lost 582 million for inshore fishery, affecting our marine environment. Another thing is the government. The government knows that these industries are releasing the acids into the water bodies, and what are they doing about it? Nothing. An example is a lead industry in Mombasa that is affected in 2018. It affected Owino Uhuru, a village in Mombasa. Nothing can justify death. They're here giving us points of 1988. 22 years later, you are stuck in the past century. In this century, we have lost a lot of people to industrial revolution. Industrial revolution is the main cause. You think the government does not know. They are here saying that we can change that. We can change that. They're giving us examples of how the government can put restrictions to industries. When were industries invented? In the last 10 years? No. In over the last 30 years, what has the government done that they're saying it is easy to deal with? We are a developing country already as it is. Do you think that the government is going to lower our production simply because to deal with the environment? They would have done that 10 years, 30 years to go. Actually, His Excellency William Ruto right now is advocating for agriculture. Now tell me how we are going to stop agriculture to reduce the emission of carbon gases into the environment. There isn't. I would like to finish by saying this. Human activities are happening daily. There is no way we can deal with these situations in less than a day. You cannot clean the ocean as caused by pollution in less than a day. You cannot stop all these industrial activities in less than a day. Please, our opposers, please come back to our side. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute for closing submission.
We're stuck in the past indeed. We lost 90% of our coral reefs, 50% of which we have not recovered, and we want to assume that. We want to see it's not a problem. We want to, it's in the past, it happened. Guys, we haven't got this back. That should be a message of how bad the situation is, that we're destroying things that have built up for millions of years, and we want to clean that up in a day. Putting plastic in the ocean is our choice. Using wrong ways of agriculture is our choice. We can stop these things if we want. We can regulate our CO2 emissions if we want. But the moment climate change hits, the moment it starts affecting our marine life, the moment our fish have migrated, we can't call them back. We can't just tell them, hey, yo, we were working on our climate, please come back. They will not. Once it's gone, it's gone. But human activities, we can work on those ones. We can put laws and regulations to manage our human activities, but we cannot talk to climate change. Once it's there, it's there. We cannot rebuild our ozone layer in a day or in a decade or in a century. And we're not saying we stop industry. It does not mean our production has to be unsustainable. We don't have to consume and at the expense of killing our marine biodiversity. We can do these things sustainably if we want to. Thank you.
Opposition, 1 minute to sum up your argument.
You know, I like their choice of words. They're saying how climate change is the most dangerous, how climate change remains the giant. Now, wait a second. Climate change isn't the biggest threat. The threats are what is causing the climate change. You know, according to the climate NASA government, the main cause, this is in 2022, according to the climate NASA government, the main cause of climate change is human activities. If we want to kill something, we will deal with the roots, not its branches. So, if human activities is the root of climate change, then we are going to deal with the human activities. This climate change is there in the first place. Thank you. This climate change is there in the first place because of the human activities. Human activities is the cause of this climate change. So if we deal with human activities, then we're going to deal with the climate change. If climate change is dangerous, then human activities is lethal. We are the cause. How can you convince us that something that is a cause of us is the problem? Human activities is the problem, and that is a fact. It is widely known. Please, my fellow audience, don't be persuaded by their lies. It is a lie.
The proposers, and you defined very well this whole concept of climate change, most dangerous and marine and all that. I also liked that you did not disagree that there are other factors, but actually narrowed to saying climate change is the single most, as how you understood it. I felt your points were very structured, only that time lapsed before you could exhaust. I felt maybe there was something more you wanted to add. There was a general understanding of this whole motion on your end. For Winnie, very, very well-researched rebuttal. And you gave solutions to the fertilizers and what should be done. I found that very convincing. There was consistency of arguments with the rest of your team members. Same to victory. The interdependence that you brought about of other factors and climate change and how they all relate, and the mangrove and all that, and the human activity, I felt it was convincing to that extent.
When it's too good, I mean, you have very few things to say. And I want to appreciate both teams for that level of debate. That is what we call a debate, all right? Mary Leakey, Nicole, very good start. Agriculture, examples, good emotive flow. Mary as well, good debate. Human activity, I felt it. I even felt it. I was like, all these bottles, why are we having plastic bottles here? Anyway, so keep the same energy flow though, all the way to the end, all right? Mary, you want to have the same energy flow to the end because you were amazing at the start, but I could tell at the end, I think after the bell, there was some starter there. Margaret, I wrote one word, phew. That means you're just phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing, well done. So all the best to the two teams. I don't know what is going to happen to the next stages. All the best.
Separated by only 2%, Mpesa Foundation Academy, 69%, a round of applause for them. Mary Leakey Girls, 71%, making Mary Leakey the winner of this particular debate. A round of applause. Congratulations to both teams on stage for bringing us the heat in this particular session. That brings us to the end of yet another phenomenal debate from our debaters on stage. And that sets the stage for what is to come. And trust me, you do not want to miss it. Sadly, we have to go, but we will most definitely see you in the next one. My name is Stephanie Oshira. I have been your host for the day.